Distance learning is not the kiss of death. Hey, I am Chuck the Bureaucrat, and recently I posted a video where I discussed the nuances of the Senior Service College Board, or more commonly called the War College Board. One of you asked what my opinion was on the box of books, that is, the distance learning option. And they were asking this because, it looks like a lot of work, and there's no clear sign that it's going to pay off. That is a big question, so I thought I'd attack it in a video. Just so you know up front, I would encourage you to do the box of books, even though 2 years of distance learning doesn't really excite me. I have a whole bunch of reasons for this, but probably the biggest one is that usually the selection rate to colonel is higher than the selection rate to resident war college. Just to fill the ranks, the Army has to select some lieutenant colonels who did the box of books. But before I dig into my reasons for thinking this, I recommend that you talk to the person whose opinion really matters, and that's your senior rater. In fact, you might talk to some peers of your senior rater just to get multiple perspectives on this issue. If you get selected for distance learning and you're on the fence about it, meet with your senior rater. I guarantee you, if they know that you want their input on this decision, they are going to make time for you. And what you really want to ask them is how they view officers who are doing distance learning, not necessarily people who have done distance learning. The way you couch it is this: I want to be the most effective leader I possibly can be, but I'm worried that the box of books will be a distraction. How do I make sure that I deliver results for this organization and still graduate on time? Do not expect them to lighten your workload. Instead, what you're really looking for is how your boss views distance learning war college. Some general officers think that distance learning is a distraction, and they get annoyed by action officers whose work suffers as a result of it. Others view distance learning as a gut check. They see it as a test. They think that a lieutenant colonel who does nights and weekends of distance learning for 2 years, well, they have the stamina and work ethic to serve in positions of greater responsibility. I have worked for bosses who explicitly give credit to people who are doing distance learning, but I wouldn't count on that, and I certainly wouldn't ask about it. But all of that is the reason that you need to talk to your senior rater. Now, you know that I'm sort of an analytical guy, and I have spent a lot of time looking at the factors that influence selection to colonel. And you've probably heard me say that senior service college graduates are more likely to get selected for colonel. And I've made the point that more above center of mass or most qualified ratings, obviously those are better. Well, one of the things that we've looked at, although we've never been able to publish it, is whether resident war college or distance learning is better for promotion purposes. And what seems to happen is that an officer who does distance learning simply gets more OERs than one who goes to resident. That means more chances for top blocks, and so I'll say without any proof that there's an offset between the opportunity to get those better OERs and the distance learning. With that in mind, here's a couple of quick things to think about. If you're going to do war college by distance learning, you want to get it done as early as possible in your lieutenant colonel time. Ideally, you get 1, maybe 2 senior lieutenant colonel OERs where you're not encumbered by distance learning. Number 2, working a full-time job and doing distance learning requires organization, planning, and self-management. I would advise that you keep your boss and your direct reports apprised of where you are in the process and warn them about any major conflicts. Not only does that demonstrate that you can manage these complex tasks, but it helps level the load and you set a good example for your subordinates. And finally, number 3, think about how you can synergize your distance learning work. You are going to have to do a lot of research and you're going to have to write papers. And the question is, how can you incorporate all of that into your organization's mission? Because it's like I always say, we need people like you who can take on the hardest challenges of national security. Doing the box of books? That's hard. And the people who accomplish it have my respect and confidence. Now, if you want to see something else that's hard, watch this video to see why general officers don't have the easiest job on the planet.